Greetings everyone, I'm Stefan and this is a new improved Civics tier list for Hive Minds. Now as you can see in the graphic, the Hive Mind tier list is tacked onto the standard tier list, and we're going to keep tacking on different government forms until we can complete the list. Today we're going to be covering all the civics available to Hive Minds, and we're also going to be talking about all the different changes they experienced in 2.6. As you may know, 2.6 has added quite a few slight attributes to a lot of the civics, and balancing has changed dramatically because of that. We're going to explore all of that today, and I'm going to explain what every single thing does. So let's begin at the very bottom with pooled knowledge. Pooled knowledge has not been changed as a civic and is perhaps the worst one. The reason is leader level cap does not actually come into play until the very end of a leader's lifespan, and sometimes you might not even reach that point at all. And even when you do achieve the level, it's only like a 3% fire rate bonus for an admiral, or a plus 2% research speed bonus for a scientist. It's really negligible, so just ignore this and go for something else that's better. However, immediately above pool knowledge in the tier list, we have subsumed will and divided attention. Neither of these are particularly great. Their relative impact on your empire is pretty much the same, considering how about half of your empire sprawl is going to be coming from your pops, and so minus 20% to empire sprawl for pops is the same as plus 10% to admin cap. Granted, there are some differences, like you can stack the minus empire sprawl bonuses, but really it's going to be around the same thing. Unfortunately, that particular thing is not too important. You shouldn't really struggle with admin cap as a hive mind, because not only are the drones that produce admin cap really good in terms of workers, Synapse drones are probably one of the best jobs available to hive minds, but also hive minds don't even suffer that much of a penalty from being over admin cap. So realistically, subsumed will and divided attention are something that you should never ever try to go for. Instead of admin cap, you could be going for something like fleet cap. Plus 15% on naval cap is not too significant, but it's a nice bonus, and it's certainly more useful than having just a little bit of extra admin cap in an empire that really does not need too much admin cap. However, something a little bit more interesting than fleet power is going to be army power, especially combined with a lithoid main species. Strength of legions is actually not that bad as a hive mind. You'll be able to really fortify your worlds and defend from there. You're probably going to have hunter-seeker drones on your planets, because unlike normal empires, you will want to reduce deviancy. Normal empires, of course, they can do the crime lord deal and completely ignore crime as a factor. With hive minds though, you will probably want to run some hunter-seeker drones, and that means some garrisons on your planet, so this is actually going to get some use. This civic effectively gives you plus 30% to army damage, because that army starting experience plus 100 levels the army up to level 2, which is plus 10% to damage. So it's relatively decent and can really help you defend your planets from enemy attacks. However, even that is very situational, and so Strength of Legions is pretty good, but it is a very niche civic. Something a little bit more generally useful is the Natural Neural Network. This one gives you an extra research alternative, and you can really use this to your advantage when beelining certain techs. So if you want a certain tech, and you know the way the tech tree is structured out, by the way, check out my tech video on that, you can actually beeline the tech tree and get exactly the techs that you want, and Natural Neural Network really helps out with that. Additionally, it has an effect of giving some science production to your unemployed pops. Granted, this production is really not worthwhile, so you should not be specifically going for unemployed pops. However, if you're massively screwing up and you have unemployment, you're going to get 1 physics, 1.5 society, and 1 engineering per pop in addition to the minerals they normally produce. If you are not aware, unemployed hive-minded pops produce 1 minerals each. This science production, however, is not affected by any traits, and so if you're running something like intelligent, you're still going to produce 1, 1.5, and 1 science. Moving up in terms of power, we have 1 mind. 1 mind gives you a very straightforward bonus of plus 15% to unity production, but it also gives you all your leaders are less likely to gain negative traits. What that realistically means is your leaders are not going to level up and get stubborn, and they're not going to get Arrested Development. It completely disables those traits, and I'm pretty sure the only negative traits your leaders can get are from certain events. What's also nice about it is that it affects all of your leaders, not just your ruler and governors, like Philosopher King does. Philosopher King is awful, never go for it, but this thing with its effect is actually relatively decent. Moving on within the same tier, we have Empath. Now, granted, depending on your playstyle, this may also be F tier, because if you're not using Diplomacy, Empath is not going to matter, but if you are using Diplomacy to its fullest extent, Empath will bring you quite a few benefits. Empath will allow you to build more alliances than usual, and it will also reduce the opinion penalty granted to Hive Minds interacting with normal empires. So normally you would get a -20 opinion, but with Empath it is completely removed. It doesn't matter too much, but a 20 opinion difference is relatively nice. Moving on to S tier, we start with Aesthetic. Aesthetic will give you +5% habitability, which realistically means a plethora of bonuses due to habitability, which I'm not going to cover today, but obviously 5% hab is relatively decent. In addition to that, you have -15% amenities usage, and that is really powerful because that allows you to build fewer maintenance drones and allows you to employ more drones doing virtually anything else. As a Hive Mind, you want to minimize the amount of maintenance drones that you're using because maintenance drones only produce amenities and nothing else. And now the final civic, the one we've been waiting for, Devouring Swarm. This thing is very powerful. It will boost your fleets, but it will not boost them as much as Fanatic Purifiers or Determined Exterminators would. Instead, it really boosts their survivability more than anything else. This means that this civic is best combined with cruisers or battleships. You're not really going to want to run corvettes or destroyers with Devouring Swarms. Instead, you want to run as many cruisers with potentially as many strikecraft as possible. Strikecraft as of 2.6.2 are very powerful, so if you use that combo and go out and conquer, you're going to have a very fun time. You're also going to have a very fun time purging the population because you'll produce some food, and from robots, you'll actually produce alloys. That is a trait unique to Hive Minds, and this means that Devouring Swarm is actually really competitive with all the other Total War civics because you're going to be able to snowball once you take over some machine pops. You also get -50% to star-based influence cost, which really helps you expand early on. There's also a variant of Devouring Swarm called Terraform. That you need your main species to be lithoids, and then you're going to be able to select Terraform as a civic. Terraform will do all the things Devouring Swarm does, but it will also add the ability to consume worlds. Now, consuming planets may sound awesome, but it is actually not that powerful. What you do is you issue a planetary decision, which will remove 1 to 2 max districts from the planet, and it will also remove 10% habitability. So you really want to be doing this on planets you really do not want. That decision will take a year, and at the end of the year, you will get some alloys, some minerals, or some pops. The game doesn't actually tell you what you get, so you're going to have to figure that out on your own in the game itself. Unfortunately, as a planet-consuming species, you will not be able to terraform any planets. This means that you won't be able to terraform any planets to Hive worlds, which is actually a pretty significant drawback. Hive worlds are pretty damn awesome and are worth it if you're playing a normal Hive Mind. However, as a terror you will not have access to it, and things like Tomb Worlds will forever stay Tomb Worlds, which is really unfortunate. But overall, Terraform is very powerful, and honestly, it's probably worth the trade-off. But anyways, that'll do it for today. In the next Civics video, we'll be covering all the Machine Civics, and afterwards, we'll be covering all the Megacorp Civics. Hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.